What is popping, my Sonic Adventure dudes and dudettes? It is me MT and welcome back to the heavy spoiler show, y'all. This is about to be an ending explained for Sonic the Hedgehog 3, so if you have not seen this movie, stop watching this video, go to the theater, have an amazing time, and then bring your ass back here because we've got to talk about the ending, y'all. So let's just get into it now. For those of you who do not know, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 has 2 extra credit scenes at the end of the movie, one during the mid-credits and then one in the post-credits, and after we get an absolutely incredible fight between Sonic and Shadow in their Super Sonic and Super Shadow forms. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 ends with Sonic and Shadow working together to use their powers to defend the planet from the death ray that evil Grandpa Gerald Robotnik shot at the Earth in vengeance, with their team-up being reminiscent to the very end of Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, one of my personal favorites Sonic the Hedgehog games, and actually the first Sonic game that I ever played. The GameCube era was true a special time. Then after Tales of Knuckles teleports Sonic safely back to the Earth, Shadow and Dr. Robotnik work together to save the world by sending Gerald Robotnik's Arc Death Ray into the depths of outer space so that it could explode without causing irreparable damage to Earth's atmosphere, and unfortunately for Dr. Eggman, they would succeed, leading to what appears to be Robotnik and Shadow's fiery demises. However, Sonic 3's post-credit scene would show Shadow the Hedgehog alive and, well, as we see him picking up one of his limiter rings from a crater in the ground, implying that Shadow survived the blast and has landed back on Earth. In the Sonic the Hedgehog video game canon, Shadow's limiter rings were made by Gerald Robotnik in order to limit Shadow's vast chaos power and keep him in check. However, even though these rings were introduced with Shadow in Sonic Adventure 2 in 2001, we wouldn't actually see the full extent of how much these limiter rings limited Shadow's power until 2006 Shadow the Hedgehog video game, where we see Shadow the Hedgehog removing his rings in order for him to face off against a vast army of evil demon clones of himself. If the world chooses to become my enemy, I will fight like I always music have. Over the course of the movie, we see Shadow the Hedgehog remove his limiter rings in order to summon the strength to deal with Gerald Robotnik's death ray, so Shadow, being in his full unlimited form, was understandably able to withstand the blast of the explosion, because Shadow is of course supposed to be the ultimate life form. However, this being the case, this post-credit scene also very much opens the door for Dr. Robotnik to return, because if a fully unlocked Shadow was able to survive the blast and teleport safely back to the planet, then there's no reason why Shadow could not have picked up Dr. Robotnik on his way back, as I'm sure Shadow had a desire to save at least one of Robotnik's grandchildren if he could help it. But let's be real here, the real indicator as to whether or not Dr. Robotnik survived this movie is 100% going to be Jim Carrey. Because as far as I can tell, I don't really think Jim Carrey really thought he would have been back for Sonic 3 at all. However, in a recent interview that he conducted with the Associated Press, Jim Carrey revealed that the main reason why he agreed to do Sonic 3 was because he bought a lot of stuff and he needed the money, and you got to respect the man for keeping it real. Around the time that Jim Carrey was doing the press for Sonic 2, he did mention that he was considering retiring from acting completely or just taking a very long hiatus from it, but it seems that Jim Carrey's wallet had other plans. So this all being said, I believe that whether Shadow ends up saving Dr. Robotnik or not depends solely on whether or not Jim Carrey wants to actually do another Sonic movie, because the way that they ended Sonic 3 very much feels like Jim Carrey is all set with the role, as this time around he gets to actually leave things as a hero by preventing destruction. But if Jim Carrey wants to make a little bit more extra cash on the side, there is a window for him to easily come back for Sonic 4. Which is a sequel that has already been announced by Paramount Pictures, by the way, with the expected release year being 2027. But that is just the post-credit scene. Let's go on backwards and hit the mid-credit scene now, as the mid-credit scene picks up right where the movie leaves off, with Sonic the Hedgehog in the middle of a race with both Tails and Knuckles, but Sonic would run too damn fast and find his ass in New York State Park, where he is immediately confronted by an army of Metal Sonic robots, which is so freaking exciting because Metal Sonic is one of the coolest Sonic characters ever, and they straight up just rolled up on Sonic like they were all T-800 Terminator robots from the future or something. But before Sonic could get jumped by all of these teen and wannabes, Inc. comes fan favorite Amy Rose to save Sonic from getting his butt whooped. Amy Rose and Metal Sonic were both introduced in 1993's Sonic the Hedgehog CD. When Sonic arrives at the Collision Chaos stage in that game, he runs into an Amy Rose who instantaneously falls in love with him and starts to follow him around with hearts in her eyes, establishing a core aspect of Amy's entire character as Sonic's aspiring girlfriend from the get-go pretty much. But in traditional damsel and distress form, she would immediately be kidnapped by Metal Sonic, and later on in the game, when Sonic meets back up with Metal Sonic at Stardust Speedway, Metal Sonic would use Amy Rose as leverage to challenge Sonic to ace, with Sonic releasing Amy Rose if the player manages to beat Metal Sonic to the finish line. However, this Sonic 3 mid-credit scene appears to remix Amy and Metal Sonic's first appearance and Sonic CD by making Sonic the damsel in distress this time around who needs saving by Amy, which is quite fun. In the video game, Metal Sonic was originally created by Dr. Robotnik in order to create a far superior hedgehog capable of destroying the blue blur permanently, and to that end he specifically programmed Metal Sonic to have an all-consuming inner hatred for Sonic that fueled them to be better than him at all costs this programmed hatred. Combined with a titanium shell and a jet engine propulsion system that Eggman shoved in the middle of his chest allowed Metal Sonic to consistently keep up with Sonic no matter how many times Metal Sonic may fail, becoming the near-perfect match to the Hedgehog that he was made to defeat in the realms of strength, endurance, and speed. Also, Metal Sonic can even shoot out a concentrated beam of energy out of the hole in the center of his chest, much like Iron Man can with his Unibeam, and because it's his only reason for living, Metal Sonic typically makes it his mission to master all of Sonic's own moves in order to challenge Sonic to various races that prove that Metal Sonic is the better of the two of them, right before Metal Sonic kills him with Metal Sonic's Energet engine able to straight up blow past the speed of sound to easily reach speeds up to Mach 5. And not only this, but Metal Sonic also has a built-in scanner that allows him to copy the powers and skills of other people to become the ultimate killing machine. Almost like the DC Comics antagonist Amazo, which is absolutely nuts. This all being said, this army of Metal Sonic copies that attack Sonic at the end of the film appear to be significantly weaker than the singular Metal Sonic entity that was first introduced in the games, as a hooded Amy Rose is able to use her signature Pico hammer to make quick work of all of those robots like it was her job. So something tells me that these robots were freshly released by their creator, specifically to hunt down Sonic in order to copy and adapt his moves, slowly becoming better and better over time. But the question still remains, where the hell did all these Metal Sonics from the mid-credit scene even come from? Well, just like in the video games, I think that this army was straight up created by Dr. Eggman himself, but not after he died in a fiery explosion in space to save humanity, but well before, likely in that period of time that he spent hiding in a giant robot crab all by himself after everyone thought him dead at the end of Sonic 2 after his close brush with death. In that movie, I have a feeling that Dr. Eggman set up a dead man switch meant to avenge his own self should he ever be taken down by Sonic one day, and that dead man switch was somehow activated when Dr. Robotnik broadcast his final message to the world telling them of what he was about to do. However, I do also believe that there is a strong possibility that these Metal Sonics could have also been created by Dr. Robotnik's grandfather Gerald Robotnik as well, because if you think about it, Gerald spent a good chunk of his life conducting research on Shadow the Hedgehog, so that man knew exactly how powerful Shadow was, and seeing as Gerald had no idea how Shadow was going to react when they reunited decades later during the events of this movie, part of me thinks that Gerald could have started the production of adaptive Metal Hedgehog robots meant to capture Shadow, just in case Gerald failed to manipulate Shadow into helping him destroy the planet. However, that scenario feels far less likely considering that Metal Sonic is clearly modeled after Sonic the Hedgehog himself, implying that Metal Sonic's traitor had an obsession with Sonic the Hedgehog specifically in the past, so I'm definitely leading more towards Metal Sonic being a creation of the younger Robotnik instead. But regardless of who created Metal Sonic, it is obvious that Sonic 4 is about to go full-on Terminator by having this mysterious army of Metal Sonics hunt down Sonic and his friends, with all of these Metal Sonics likely eventually going rogue from their original programming to fulfill their own desire to become the one and only fast blue hedgehog on the planet A. Motivation that would be in line with the Metal Sonic for the video games and other Sonic media, but only time will tell there. But like always, thank you guys so much for watching this video. You guys can follow me at Mentertainment on Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, YouTube, wherever I am on the internet, but most importantly follow Heavy Spoilers here on YouTube by hitting that subscribe button and maybe even that like button if you guys like this video. It really helps out the channel. But whatever you guys do, I'm just grateful that you guys took the time to spend some time with me, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye.